I opened this site originally, way back when, to talk about my writing. When I came back, I addressed my COPD. What I found is a multitude of support and friends, and that's what I like to pass on. Welcome to AKA GK Fralin. This is Glenda. Hi. What'd you think of that, huh? Oh, it's good to be back. A few weeks ago, I put forth the question, where would you like to go? Even in your condition, whatever you have, and just where would you really like to go? So, I mentioned a couple, but I really didn't get a whole lot back. I mentioned a couple that I would like to go. But evidently, there were some out there still thinking about it. And one did get back to me, and that was Carla Sherman. And I really like hers. She wants to go and visit County Wicklow in Ireland. The reason being that her grandpa, Ed, his great-great-grandfather came from County Wicklow in Ireland. I think that's cool, going back to ancestry, going back to your ancestry. I'm not doing any ads for ancestry is a common enough word. Okay. I had to throw that in. I like to be goofy, and that's what I'm being right now. Okay. On with this. I have got to a point with the diabetes part, or type 2, where I've gone to my limit of my comfort level of being any kind of an authority, and I've been referring to the American Diabetes Association. It's hard to take that time for yourself to go look it all up. When you're working, you're doing this and you're doing that, doesn't mean it's not important. And you really should go there. Even if it's just, just to peruse and see what they have. But I've told you what I can the last couple of days, and I think that's been valuable. I really do. But as a nurse, I gave insulin shots or medication, watched for signs of skin breakdown, which is a problem with diabetics, and did like the glucometer readings. And I had so many other patients that I didn't really have time to just sit there with them and just go over their personal journey. And this was in a nursing home too. Got to remember that. So I've at the peak of my comfort level. The only real close or family experience that I have with type 2 diabetes or with diabetes at all was my husband's mother, which she was such a wonderful woman. But that's just one person. So I am going to give you a whole list of things you can find. And these are not to shake a stick at, I'm assuring you. And I will put the web address for this up here. Okay, because they have at the American Diabetes Association, which there are offices for all over the country, but they have a section just for living with diabetes. And whether you're recently diagnosed or whether you're living with someone, they do have that program. And they do have, for those of you who have a family member who is diagnosed and you're the caregiver or just want more information, they do have under treatment and care, they have 8 tips for caregivers. and it includes support. It includes where you can find support for yourself. That is invaluable. Because diabetes is something that you live with for a very long time. Because we primarily do talk about a lot of chronic disease here. That isn't the whole thrust of this site, but it ends up being a lot of what we do talk about. And besides activities, because not only do we want to be informed and need to be informed, we also need to find a life within that. And we need to have that life defined in our terms, and not everybody else's. Okay, so when you go to that site and you see up there somewhere living with diabetes, then you're going to go and they're going to have a list of things, including recently diagnosed and living with. They have a whole program on that. Okay, they've got a section called We Can Help. And in there's not only information, there's legal assistance, and they do have some success stories. There's a lot of success stories, but I'm sure they can only give so many. And I would welcome any success story that I could listen to about about COPD. Okay, complications. There are a number of complications, and that's nothing that we can hide from with diabetes. Hopefully you don't suffer from those. My mother-in-law, before she passed away, just about every system in her body had been affected or taken over by the diabetes. She had diabetic neuropathy. Her kidneys were shutting down. She had congestive heart failure. Just, all kinds of systems were starting to become a problem. So it is important to know those. Know the signs. Skin breakdown is a big, big problem because diabetics, they get infections easily. So, watch your toes because that's where a lot of it is hidden when it comes to infection. In my experience, that isn't where I get it from here. But people just, they aren't washing and looking at their toes as much as they do every other, So places you don't normally look at, but you may have scratch or something, keep an eye on it. If you're diabetic, if you're anything, you want to make sure you clean it and all that. But okay, health insurance. That's another thing that you'll need to get information on. Okay, they have a section there for parents and kids. If you're a parent of a child or an adult who has diabetes, type 2 or type 1. If you're a child or if of someone who has diabetes, there's going to be a reference there for you. And then they have a section about just simply knowing your rights. And that is important. Knowing your rights is important because abuse or neglect, most often it's neglect, of someone who is disabled or has a disease that is incapacitating, it's probably one of the highest rate of adult abuse in this country. Adult abuse it's a big deal. So we don't, and I'm not saying that that's the only way where you need to know your rights. You need to know your rights when you go to the hospital. You need to know your rights when you go to the doctor. You've got privacy issues. So, it's just important. It's important to know how people need to make things available to you and how that's necessary. Oh, in fact, one gal on here on the Fry Life, she has a dog that can smell when her blood sugar is getting low by smelling her breath. So, important to know your rights. That's as far as I can go with this one. Not that I couldn't. but I just wouldn't have as much authority or knowledge as your American Diabetes Association, and there I'm sure is an association in your area. I know there's one in Omaha, and they're all over the United States. It says American, doesn't it? Okay. Come up with some new projects for me, or for yourselves. Let's keep having fun. Give me, if you're going Robin, you just went and visited your grandkids. Give us a short story of what happened when you visited your grandkids. Something silly or something that you just like to share. And because I know when I get with my grandkids, it's just I am in just thrill. In fact, I've been getting calls from my grandson this week, and he is just, his heart has been so full, and he's just talking, and he's 17, almost 17, no, he just did turn 17. So, they grab your heart so much. It's like with your own kids, they grab your heart, and especially when they find you interesting. But not only that, they want you to be interested in them. And that's, and they're sharing their life. Oh, wonderful. So we need to share. And if you've had just want to express some gratitude for a family member who has been there, or who you've seen recently and just had some fun, by golly, get on here and just share. Because we all like to know that they're out there, that somebody's out there getting support, because it can give us some resources too. It can open that brain up a little. I'll see you next time. And this is GK Fralin saying, tomorrow is another day. I got a cough drop in my mouth, guys. I'm sorry. And hasta mañana.